In this practical phase, we are going to create a poster for an event. We are going to use typography as the core, but we are going to add also a little bit of illustration. We will use an imaginary event called the Summer Grilling Barbecue Festival. We will focus on using the typography panels in Adobe Illustrator, so let's do it. Since we are talking about the little poster, I'm gonna go ahead and use the A4 page. If you don't see that straight away, you can also go to File, New, as you probably already know, Print, and then you'll find some different print formats. It's gonna be a small poster in this case, so I'm just gonna go with A4. CMYK colors, since it's gonna be a print poster that is gonna be around the city, advertising the specific festival, let's say. I created a little sketch with a little hot dog and a hand holding it. I'm gonna place it on my canvas. I'm gonna lock the layer. I'm gonna create a new one and start tracing it. It's up to you if you want to use your pen tool or your brush tool in order to trace your illustration. In this case, I think I'm gonna go ahead with my brush tool, which feels usually a bit quicker, and I wanted to have this kind of craft, rough approach on the lines. Brush tool usually works better for something like that. I'm gonna select magenta so we can actually see what's happening. And adjust a bit also the curves. It's up to you if you want to work on your lines as you trace it, or just trace the whole thing and then go over it in order to adjust your line work. I kind of prefer this point here to adjust it straight away. You don't need to follow the line that you created on your sketch. Only if it feels to you that is like the actual line that you need, that it works quite well. Or even you don't need a sketch by hand if you feel comfy going straight away in your computer. For me, it feels always a bit more natural to firstly sketch things by hand and then go ahead and trace them and amend them digitally. Just using my white arrow to adjust all of the curves, I'm removing some of the points with the pen tool. Shortcut is the P letter, that's why I don't need to go every time on the toolbar, I'm just using the shortcuts. It's a really quick turnaround, let's say in this case, with a quick poster that the client asks you to create. So you just want something simple that communicates what it's supposed to be communicated, and you can create just within few hours and deliver it quickly to your client to go ahead with his festival. I can get rid now of the reference picture. I'm firstly gonna work in finalizing my illustration, and then I'm gonna create the rest of the poster. I'm gonna do just duotone in this case. What I'm gonna do is use the black and white option so I can see which shape is in front of which one and what is going on in general. And I'm gonna go ahead and start rearranging my shapes so I can have them in the right position. That is at the front, that is at the back. Perhaps all of the nails have to come at the top. Perfect. And here that feels like it's in the wrong position, send it to back. Now the next thing that I'm gonna do is switch them the other way around so I can see also what's happening. Great. So let's get started with coloring. I rarely use strokes, so I'm just gonna get rid of that on this big shape and color it black. Same with that one. As you see, I didn't close my shape, so I'm gonna use my pen tool to quickly create a curve to close that shape. I didn't touch the right point to close it, so I'm gonna double click on that, isolate it, and I can make sure this time that I'm selecting the proper points to close it. This one as well, let's make it black. It has a bit of a balance and a bit of variation of line and fill. And this finger perhaps has to go at the back. I'm gonna add the background color so we can see what is going on. I'm gonna remove the stroke, and should we use something a bit more bright in terms of color, something a bit more reddish? Usually when I'm sending stuff to print, I try to have the percentages quite kind of round numbers like 70, 75, 80 and so on, just in case so it gets nicely printed. And I'm gonna save this swatch. I think it's a nice color to use. I'm gonna leave it on the global function. And then I'm gonna cut this background, create a new layer, paste it in place, call it background, and drag it underneath my graphic. Now you can see that we have a bit of a trouble on the fingers, they don't perfectly connect. Also, I don't really like this black as a secondary color. Something a bit more colorful, such as purple blue. So I'm gonna go ahead and add it also to my swatches. And I'm gonna make the white color as well global, just in case that I need to switch it later on to something else. Let's move these points here so they don't touch the edge. Let's start coloring the composition. I think we can keep the outline, but firstly we're gonna make it blue and then nice and thick. I'm gonna use my magic wand tool to grab all the shapes that they have this outline, so I can quickly change the thickness of them and the color. So I don't need to select every single shape individually. I just select with my magic wand tool one of the shapes, and the transformation will be applied to all of them. Also, what I'm gonna do is go ahead on my stroke panel and make the edges round as well as the corners. It feels a bit more friendly. And yeah, adjusting of course lines and closing shapes. Here we have a bit of an issue though, because it's coming at the front. So I'm gonna undo that and I'm gonna lock the shapes and create another shape behind, which I'm gonna color white. That is gonna kind of in a sneaky way solve my issue. Here we go. Let's go ahead and start fixing the details. I think we are almost there. We need an extra shape as well here behind it. Same kind of issue, and send to back. We have a bit of a gap as well there, so I need to close the shape. Again, I'm gonna double click to get within it so I can have perfect control on it. Double click to get outside the group. Great, that feels quite fun, quite nice. Let's go ahead and fix all the lines so they perfectly match. And it's important to do that. Perhaps like if you're working for a client, you can avoid this step on your first round of presentation and just show it a bit more rough. It depends though on the budget and depends also on how much time you have. But I would definitely suggest you to tidy up your work before delivering your final outcome. I'm gonna remove the fill from that shape so it can touch the other one and perfectly much. We don't need that as well. I'm sometimes moving it farther away so it doesn't snap to anything around, and then bring it back to snap it to the right place straight away. So I'm just getting rid of the handles, and the line is gonna straighten up. Great, so I'm gonna go ahead and unlock all just in case. Yes, it is unlocked, I didn't lock anything. I use quite often the lock and unlock option, so that's why I'm always double checking what I did. And go ahead and group now the whole illustration so I can have it as a piece to move around.